So we formed a company, and within 5 months, we grew it to 23 properties in 7 states in 5 months.
What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's going on, E?
Oh, man. Life is a blessing, bro. Every day, life is a blessing, you know? Working on a couple of refinances right now with a couple stuff now here in Florida, some of the stuff up in the Midwest. So that's going well. A little slow, a little slow in comparison to usual, and hopping through the usual shit of just refinancing and dealing with paper pushers that don't understand vision, and I should get used to it by now, but I'm still kind of surprised every time. I'm like, how do you qualify? Like, you don't even understand real estate as an asset. How do you still have this job? But anyways, that's me. I saw that you've been shopping this week, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we went, well, my grandmother passed away last week, and I haven't gone up to our condo in months with everything going on. And I was like, you know what? We took my my grandfather up to kind of get him out of the house and just hang out with my son and my parents, and had a real good time up there. And I couldn't resist the chance to go look at some real estate while we were there. So I talked to an agent, and we went and checked out 3 boutique hotels and then a motel, which initially I really just discounted because I was like, I don't know if I want to look at a motel. But for me personally, that was actually the most interesting and most intriguing one for me that I think has the biggest upside.
I think it's the reputation. I think just our generation sees the word motel, and we're just kind of that's going to be kind of sketchy.
But I kept thinking of what Maddie in Austin, who's our guest today, is good friends with Maddie, and help him get Play Park Lodge set up. And I was just thinking the same thing where if we do some upgrades and rebrand it as a lodge and not a motel, I think we could generate premium rents, mint location, right at the bottom of a major ski resort, real cool spot. So excited for that one. We'll run the numbers, and just like you, all morning I've been working on paperwork to get the refi on the hotel going. So it's not fun, but it's part of the business, and it's what writes the checks. So
yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a key. Everybody knows now through the whole Bigger Pockets podcast of the BRRR kind of method. We're doing the same thing, right? It's just the same exact thing. It's just at a bigger scale. But all the work does not get to fruition until you get to the last R on the refi, because then that's what gives you the gas for the other thing and for some fun in between. So it's just kind of it's what we need to do. But anyways, I'm super excited about our guest. You should read his intro because your voice sounds much better than mine.
All right. So today we have Mr. Austin Linney. He is a former service industry veteran of 20 plus years. He turned serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, mindset, and business coach. He is the host of the weekly podcast, Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. When he's not building businesses, growing his expansive network of who's who in leading industries, providing massive value each week with his podcast, or helping his coaching clients achieve a breakthrough, he can be found training for and or competing in Ironman Triathlons across the country. If you're an entrepreneur wanting to start a business, wanting to improve your mindset through coaching, or you just want to have a heart-to-heart conversation on how to overcome the odds, Austin can help you get where you want to go. And I'm excited for this. Austin and I have been friends for a few years now, and he's just an awesome dude. He's been in so many different industries and niches, and I think he's going to add, I know he's going to add a lot of value for folks. So welcome to the show, Austin.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. Who wrote that bio? I definitely didn't write that bio, but that sounds good. Makes me feel good. But just before I talk about myself, I want to talk about what you made a point on, and I do know Matt's business pretty good, because I built out the Airbnb systems for that. the lodge is the play, and he just had the 2 best months he's ever had in the history of that lodge, because they took it for a millennial approach / some updated colors. And I know what that thing looked like because I saw it when he bought it, and then I saw it when he finished it, and we'll actually be up there in 2 weeks. And it really is about wording, right? There's little switches of words and how you portray it, and it just, you can explode the thing. But to tell a little bit about me, how I got started, since we're on STR Secrets, true story. We like to travel Airbnb. So we were traveling, and I'm like, oh, we can figure it out. So I was in Austin at the time. I had this little crappy apartment, and I started renting it out because I was working so much, and it was like a 1-bedroom, and like I was getting some money, and then I got called by the apartment people, and they were like, you need to shut it down. So I shut it down. And then I moved to San Antonio, and I was like, well, we can just do the same thing here. So I started out with an air mattress, and the air mattress rented, and then I bought a trundle bed, and then that rented. And then, so the first year I was, my wife at the time had moved to Houston, so she wasn't living in San Antonio, and I was working 80 hours a week. And so I was like, well, what happens if I rent the whole house? Like, is that a thing? Can I do that? And so I had the air mattress, trundle bed, a queen, and then a regular. And so I just threw it up there, and like crappy pictures, the whole 9. I'm like, I work hospitality, I can figure this out. So I was sleeping in my buddy's second bedroom on the wood floor on an air mattress with my dog, and working 8 hours a week and renting out the whole house. So that was for like 5 months. Well, I made like 11 grand, and I was like, holy crap, like I made money. This is crazy. Like I'm figuring it out. I'm cleaning, I'm doing everything. And then so like, let's give the whole year a chance and see what we can do. Well, the next year I grossed 35,000 off the house. Then we bought another one. I went to Europe for 2 months. Like we bought a house, and then I went to Europe for 2 months, like the day after we closed. It wasn't planned. And my partner on the house was like, let's long-term rent it. Let's not Airbnb it. So I'm like, okay, great. I have renters. So this went on for 2 months while I was in Europe. Like, hey, let's rent out. Like, why is the house not renting out? And so like, I was like paying the mortgage, and this house wasn't renting out. So I'm like, well, screw this. So I came home from Europe. I got off the plane from Europe. I was in a furniture store an hour later, and I looked at the lady, and I said, lady, I ain't got time. This is how we're going to roll. And I'm just like pointing out stuff, and I just bought everything. And she's like, I'll have it there this afternoon. We furnished the house in 24 hours. The first booking was $1,800 for like a week during spring break. And I was like, oh my God, we just covered the mortgage in like 7 days. Like that was amazing. Let's keep doing this. So that second year we did 68,000 gross. And then I bought a third house, and that next year we did 114 gross.
Nice.
So I just think we caught anybody that started listening to this episode, everybody is hooked, right? Yeah. This is exactly, this is the magic. And I love the fact that like you did it the original way, right? Because if anybody knows the history of Airbnb, that's where the name comes from, right? The air mattress. Mm-hmm. And people are literally like, what kind of sheets should I buy? And like, here you come and you're like, sheets? I don't fucking know. I just put an air mattress on the thing, and whatever sheets I had left at home, that's what I use. But like, is the faith in yourself, and you're just like, I got this. I'm in hospitality. What hospitality? Like you did hotels, or what's your background?
So when I was 17 years old, I started expoing and bar backing, and then I was a waiter bartender for better part of my life. I was a chef for a while. And then the last, like the bigger part of my year from like 30 to like 36, I was working in high-end hotels. And I wasn't working in the hotel part of it, but I was seeing, like I worked at Hotel Emma in San Antonio, which was a 160-year-old brewery. They turned into a luxury hotel. It's the 13th best hotel in the United States. It's the most expensive per night, next to the Dallas Sheraton in Texas. And so you're really seeing the revenue from the restaurant, from the bar. You're in meetings with the hotel concierge, who was my friend, and you're seeing this level of service that is unmatched. Cher, Charles Barkley stays there, NBA teams stay there, and you're really seeing how it's done. And it doesn't need to be done with fancy. It needs to be done with care and love. And in Airbnb, because it gets a negative connotation sometimes. A lot of people don't see it as that, but it is that. And and what I think so great about Mike is Mike thinks of problems before they're even an issue, so it doesn't become an issue. Because I gotta tell you a story. You're gonna love this shit. This is how weird I am. I have a visionary mind, but details is a little lacking. I'm getting better at it.
I'm a work in progress on that.
Two things have happened to me. True story. I had the wrong, Mike is going to kill me for this. I had the wrong Wi-Fi code on the piece of paper at one of my properties for 6 months. And I kept bitching about that. They kept asking me for it. And I'm like, it's the wrong, and it takes me, what does it take? 2 seconds to fix it?
It's like, why are people so stupid that they can even put in the Wi-Fi code? That's amazing.
And it's all my fault. I could have stopped that like 6 months ago. So these are the things that you learn, right? And when you have guests, and this is very important for anybody that's starting Airbnb or has Airbnb. And look, guests complain, and sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. But understand that you have to look deeper than that and understand if you are the cog that is causing the negative comments or the questions, right? What we used to do when we scaled up, and we'll talk about it later, is we used to play with our messaging almost on a psychology basis to see the way the guests would react to find the sweet spot to allow us to operate at a bigger level, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I think there was one other issue that I called you out on at one point where you had the door that had the lock and people kept locking themselves out. And I was like, dude, change the doorknob.
I wasn't going to mention that because I thought you forgot.
Oh, no, I don't forget.
So, yeah, they locked themselves out of the house like 7 times. And all it took was a $15 change of the lock. And I didn't do it.
Until the pain is great enough. That's a serious lesson, though. Like for folks, and I tell people that all the time, especially people that want to get in this business that maybe have a comfortable 9-to-5 job and they're making a good income, but they're not happy with what they're doing. Their biggest obstacle is their mind because they're comfortable. So you have to find a way to get leverage on yourself to create that pain. So it's more painful to go to your job than it is to get beyond your fear of starting something new. That is the biggest challenge that most people face that I run into.
And something that needs to be made very clear. When you said I started it the original way, so everybody understands this is a real business and it matters and it's busy. I cleaned 3 Airbnbs and worked 2 full-time jobs for 3 years straight. And when I say I cleaned 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 10 o'clock at night after working 16-hour days, I cleaned the toilets. I cleaned up puke. So I have a mad respect for every cleaner system. I know everything that's in my house. I know where it goes. Like I can't tell, and I traveled with one of those jobs. So not only did I travel, and then I got to a point, and it was Matty A, God bless this man. And he said, I need you to calculate how much money you think you saved by cleaning it. And then I want you to compute it for the year. And it broke down to $2.15. And I think I threw up. And so like, make sure that you're operating in the highest form of your business.
Oh my goodness, man. It is so good. So good. But it's the true grit, man. Like whenever people tell me, you know what I mean? Like I can't make it work. And then you audit their time and you audit how they spend their life. And then you see it, like, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty plain, especially when you look from it from the outside and you do the same thing. Because most people have no idea what their time is worth. And once you start calculating that, this is not an 8 cap, 9 cap, you're losing money, and you're losing money. And I also want to touch on the visionary and implementer things for those people that feel that they're visionaries too. And they're like, I need to get better at being an implementer. You do, but also you need to learn how to ask for help and find those people that are great at implementing. Like we have a system for my Airbnb business that I've been trying to figure out how to automate emails for the longest time. And I gave it to my wife. We did a training session on Tuesday. And by Tuesday afternoon, she was done. Set up all the formats, all the templates, everything else. I've been doing this shit, trying to figure this shit out for 1.5 years. But I was so stubborn. I'm like, this is my side of the business. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And I just kept hitting it and hitting it. I'm like, I don't understand why it doesn't work. And then you give it to the right person and it becomes second nature to them, right? It's like for me or for Mike or for you to go and talk to somebody. I have no problems. I have no stress with that. But you bring an implementer and you like go talk to a bunch of people. They'll be like, I would rather sit at a desk and figure something out for you. I'm like, awesome. So just remember that as well, because it's a huge part about how to scale and get out of your own way.
I interviewed Casey Gray yesterday on my podcast, and he made the greatest point ever. He said, by you working on your weaknesses, you're only strengthening shitty weaknesses. It's like, it doesn't.
Ooh, that's good.
It doesn't work. And it wasn't until I removed my ego. I have an assistant that works for me who is an implementer. I have a business partner who's obsessed with tax codes and spreadsheets. And what we call me in the business is, and you'll get this reference if you're in the military, I am a halo jumper. All right. Those are the guys that go all the way up with the oxygen tank, and you drop me into a room of 1,000 people and I can tell you everybody's name and story within 30 minutes. If I took the people in my company, my business partner and my assistant, and put them in the same room, they would be in the fetal position in the corner, crawled up with the ball, because they don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So why would they do that? Like, just highlight your strengths and move on with your day and surround yourself with the right amount of people to grow the business.
That's money.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you scaled up. So you had the 3 properties that you purchased. When did you get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm going to take this to the next level and really scale this thing up?
So I tell you what, and I have to give all the credit to the amazing people in M1. I had 3 properties and I was at my wit's end. Like I was like, this is murdering me. And guess what? I was responding to all the guests manually. And then I met Philip up in Canada. Mm-hmm. And he was like, dude, are you not doing automated messages? Are you not doing all these things? And I put all these new systems, superhosttools.com. I did all the keypad locks. I changed all the houses out. And then I felt like I was an eagle soaring. And I was like, and I got a cleaner. And I was like, dude, I could take on like 30 more properties. And so that's when I met Jeremy Taylor and Tom Donnelly. And they wanted to do Airbnb, and I knew it. And so we formed a company. And within 5 months, we grew it to 23 properties in 7 states in 5 months. It was crazy town. It wasn't all glory. And we'll get into all that. But that was when you started adding properties and you started positioning yourself in a thing like that. And everybody told us to focus on a certain area, but we just took opportunities where they came. So we had some in Florida, Texas, California, DC. We had, so like everywhere around, and it was crazy. I mean, North Carolina, it was wild. It felt good. I mean, but you're figuring it out on the fly, and you're having multiple cleaners in multiple areas trying to build systems, but there's not a scalable system because you have properties all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for you, like the biggest quote unquote challenge that people tell me that they have is finding properties, like finding leads. So I guess two questions out of that. Which model were you guys using? I think you were doing the master lease model, right?
We were doing both. So we started with the master lease model, and then we went to management. And then we were looking for furnished units. And then we were also looking for listings that were sitting on the market that weren't selling, that were already furnished. That was a big thing for us, especially in California. Mm-hmm. The guy's like, hey, you got a listing sitting there. And we made that guy like $9K instead of the listing just sitting there, and it was already furnished. They didn't have to do anything. So that was an avenue. We got a lot of our, obviously you can't do that right now, but we got a lot of our clients from meetups. Just positioning yourself as an Airbnb management company, and then tapping into our network and stuff like that. As far as the property thing goes, like, I think people have a tendency to lie about where they are. Like, one of the best bosses I ever had said, don't lie about where you are. If it's your first deal, say it's your first deal. Like, people think about it this way. I worked in the music business for a while. Would you like a manager who has 80 bands that he manages and you're the last one on the totem pole? Or would you like to have an Airbnb manager that has 2 properties that he is going to live and breathe your property, and he's going to own it, right? And I think people discount that aspect of the management, because I know that a lot of people would prefer somebody that lives and breathes my property, and then through them, like I read a sales book and I told one of my coaching clients and it changed his life. He was making 600 cold calls a day, right? And that was great. He felt like accomplished. But I said, I had a better idea. How about you take the 20 people that you've done deals with that close deals? And I was like, you tap into that network, right? Because they're going to close deals. They know people that close deals. And he closed 7 deals in 3 weeks because of that strategy instead of cold calling. So I would imagine whoever you're managing for has other friends that need management. So tap into that network because they're already in the business. And when you go to the referral route, they did the numbers in my private equity company that we closed 72% of the deals that we had in referrals because your foot's already in the door. Yep, and I would imagine that's the case for you, Mike, right? I mean, that's kind of the snowball effect.
I've done 0 marketing in the last 3 years. To get going, I did exactly what you said. I ran my own meetup. I farmed for leads on Craigslist, Zillow, HotPads. I went to networking events. I went through my network, and I just kept putting myself out there over and over and over again. But I wanted it bad enough, right? It took me 9 months. 9 months. I ran a meetup, and I had 2 months where not a single person showed up at my meetup. Not one. It was just me awkwardly in a Capital One cafe. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it until I get a property, period. And so like, if your why is strong enough, if you want it bad enough, the law of the universe has got to deliver it to you. Mm-hmm. You just have to stay persistent enough to win.
So. I agree. You know, it's not, because this is my favorite topic and we'll stay on the thing, but when you live in scarcity, the universe closes every door available to you because you're telling yourself 2 things. You're telling yourself that you don't matter and what you want doesn't exist. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. The universe is undefeated. And nothing looks the way you thought it's going to look. Nothing's as easy as you thought it would be. And more importantly, nothing's as hard as you thought it would be. So be grateful that you're healthy, you're happy, especially in the time that we're doing. And I guarantee you that the doors of opportunities will flow like waterfalls. But understand that you can make, and this is my big point with Airbnb, and it's people don't get it. There's no chance that you as an Airbnb operator need to be like Emmanuel or Mike. These guys want crazy, ridiculous goals, and they're going to go for it. But you can manage your own Airbnbs and have 3 very, very profitable Airbnbs and retire. And that's the point that everybody's missing, that I have to get across in every interview I do.
I love that.
That's so gold. So good.
Yeah. And you just got to define what you want. It's really just coming down to defining what you want. So for you guys, when you scaled very, very quickly, what were some of the because I know the story, so I gotta take you there.
No, but I'm gonna tell you the real story, true story, and Emmanuel will love this. I'm getting chills thinking about it because it was so bad. 5 days, we furnished 7 units in 3 states, and I launched them, and I built the listing.
Wow!
I sat in my car in Raleigh, North Carolina, in a parking lot of a Holiday Inn and cried for an hour. True story. Because I was a broken man. I had slept like 3 hours. I slept on a mattress, and it was a monster client, like a big multifamily client. And we don't need to name names, but shit was not the way it was portrayed to look. So I had to go to Home Depot and buy brand new toilets. I had to become a property management company. I literally had to put new vents in. I had to repaint some stuff. I had to change out fixtures. That was all supposed to be done. The water didn't work. And I am still building listings in California while I'm dealing with all this stuff. And it broke me. It really did. But it got done, right? And I think in the moment, I don't think you handle some things right. But I think at the end of the day, it made me better to go through that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But what it did is it made us realize how broken our systems were, that and so like sometimes you have to put your business through the stress test to see where the boat's leaking.
Yeah. When I was in Puerto Rico last year, I was with, a group of short-term rental operators from all over the world. All of them doing 7 figures. All of them had, 50 to 250, 300 units. And when I remember I was presenting, we had like hot seats, and I was presenting this deal that I was pushing for. It was like a 168 unit community that I was going to do and take all these things on. And I think at the time I only had like 8 or so listings, and they were like, this is a monster deal, dude. They're like, I'm just telling you, like, I don't think you fathom like how tight your systems need to be in order to do this thing. And I kind of brushed them off, and I was like, well, I'm going to do it. And long story short, we didn't end up acquiring that deal. That didn't work out with the seller or whatever, but it was for the better. Cause then I added 2 more units and 3 more units and 5 more units. And then the boutique hotel, and I was ready for it. But when you jump in feet first and you don't have, or if you want to do it fast and you don't invest in some mentors or some education or whatever, you can do it and will your way through it, but it's going to suck. It's going to suck. Or you can just find someone, like when Matty bought the hotel, he didn't just say, oh, I'm just going to wing it. Like he called you, I talked to him, he talked to Danny, a couple other people. He's like, all right, how do I do this the right way and not screw myself? So just surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you want to do is definitely a shortcut to going through all that pain.
But what people don't get about Airbnb, and this is kind of the secret that nobody talks about, is to take it from 5 to 12 units. It's not like adding a little apartment complex. It's like adding 9 pounds of extra. Like the gap is not here, it's here. And so understand that don't be so quick to scale, because we scaled and money was coming in, but we had no money. Like we had a great July, but we had no money. And so you're getting your accounting right, getting the taxes right, making sure your clients are happy. Let's make sure our clients are happy before we start adding more clients. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's so quick to get to the next number, but like when you bring in the cleaner and you bring in the VA, that's money out of your pocket. So bootstrap that baby as long as you can, but also understand that when you're building it, make sure you're building it the way that you want. And that's kind of what my life is generated around now, is that you're wrapping your lifestyle around your career or your vehicle to make money, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. And if you allow this beast, because it's a beast, if you allow it, like, and the thing is you also have to create boundaries within yourself on what you're willing to do. And my wife at the time looked at me and she goes, you look like you want to kill yourself. Like, you're literally answering text at like 11 at night, like at all hours of the day, because I'm in Texas, they're in California. So, the time change and all this. And so I just made a rule, like, unless it like the house is on fire or something, like after 10 o'clock, I do not answer my phone. And like, I don't answer before 7. And like, you have to allow, and it takes a lot in your personal setting, but you have to allow your guests to figure stuff out for themselves sometimes. And it's not you not caring. It's by you making sure that your life and what you're dealing with is a priority above everything else. And the business of making money is secondary.
Mm. And that to me goes back to the mindset piece that you were talking about earlier, right? Because a lot of the way that you show up is how you do your job, and your programming as to how to be a little good soldier. Once you start your own business, that's going to show up immediately, right? So understand that, like, a lot of the time, especially if you're a big people pleaser, this business can be very, very hard on you, because people are going to be, especially because the hospitality industry in the US especially is based on the customer is always right. And people kind of take advantage of that, right? So it's really understanding what is your patterning and what's coming up for you, and what that it's for you to rewrite and create some kind of boundaries for yourself, right? Because I've done it very similar to you. When I started in Airbnbs, I was the maintenance guy. So I plunged the toilets. I had a guy like overstuff the toilet, and I walk into the apartment, there was shit everywhere. And I know Mike had a similar situation too, right? And we're all in that moment, they were like, we're going to do this because we have to do it, because we're all those type of people. But then the moment that happens, you're like, I'm going to create a new rule now. And from this point on, I'm never going to allow myself to do this again. Not because it's beneath me, just because it's not the best use of my time. So it's also honoring, like, what is the best use of your time? Like, is it for you to change toilets and clean toilets and paint vents? Probably not, right?
If I had to, who I am now, meaning now I'm sober and now I'm in a better place. I've lost a bunch of weight. I'm in a lot better mindset. What should have happened? What should have happened was I should have shown up to that property and it was not represented the way it was, and I should have got back on the plane and gone home. That's what should have happened. Because by doing those things, all I did was placate that was the way that it was going to be managed, and I was going to pick up all the crap. And that doesn't serve the business of us being in business, right? And at the time, I didn't respect myself enough to step up and say that was the case. Instead, I tried to fall on the sword, fall on the grenade, and that's going to get you nowhere but the crying in a car in a Holiday Inn parking lot.
Yeah. But it's needed, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it depends on the type of man that you are, or woman, you know, but you have those moments, and then those moments either make you or break you. Because then you either fall back on your excuses, or you're like, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to catch myself. And like, I'm in the same place, right? Like the moment you start taking care of yourself more and better, then you start looking at your business and like, okay, the same way I take care of myself better, I need to take care of this business better, because this business is not treating me right. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They want to get out of their 9 to 5 and they're just replacing one boss with another one, and they're not creating systems. And we talk about this all the time. Like, I think it probably gets mentioned every single time, but until you create a business, you're just going to keep getting yourself more jobs. And that's kind of what it sounded like, right? Like you just kept going from job to job. It was more property, but it wasn't more business with just more jobs, more hats for you to wear.
Yeah. Jake, one of my friends from GoBundance, who's a big developer, he said that habits are something you do every day. And when you don't do your habits or something, you default to your systems. And it's like systems are what I'm terrible at. Thank God I've surrounded myself with the right people now. But that is truly the only thing that can set you free, especially in this business. And you have a duty to the employees that work for you and the guests that walk through the door to make sure that you are buttoned up and know that if something goes wrong, you have a system to replace. You have to understand something. I worked in hospitality forever. The lady that's mad at the AC not working or the Wi-Fi, she's not really mad at the Wi-Fi. Maybe she is. Or maybe she's traveled for 16 hours and her kid said mommy 30 fucking times. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stop, because I attached myself to everybody's problem forever, and it was driving me insane. And then I realized that you have to step out of that and go, okay, like, they're unhappy. What can I do to make it better? Because I can't tell you how many irate guests. I got stories from the yin yang. I'm going to shave one with you later. The best one I've never told anybody. It'll blow your doors off, any story. But like, we had the door jam in San Diego, because it was next to the beach. It rusted shut. So she couldn't check in at 3 a.m. when she got in from New York. And so she texted me and she goes, I had to get a hotel. May I check in right now? She was super, super calm about it. I said, hey, I think the door jammed. So I'm in Texas. Actually, I think I was in Costa Rica at the time. So she's in San Diego. And we popped the door open, Tom came over, popped the door open, and I sent out a favor delivery service, and I got her a box of chocolates and a bottle of Prosecco. What did it cost me? $12, and she gave me the best 5-star review I've ever got in my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Dude, the way you handle problems, it makes a big difference, right? And that's one of my key team members, and that's been the greatest gift that I have, is that he handles problems the way I handle problems. Mm-hmm. You know, when people call and they're all mad and stuff like that, you show up there with a smile, and you show up understanding. You know what I mean? And I have stories. One time, this lady was just terrorizing my team, right? Terrorizing everybody. Like everybody that walked in there, cleaners, maintenance guys, she was just rough, right? So I walk in there the first time I meet her, I'm like, Emmanuel, nice to meet you. She's like, oh, I got stuff to tell you. And I'm like, oh no, I've heard of you. You're the scary one, right? Let's have a conversation. Let's sit down and let's see what we can do to help you. The moment you like look at the beast and you don't run away, the beast is like, shit, what do I do now? This guy didn't run away. And you just listen. People just want to be listened to, man. And especially when it comes to exactly what you said, right? Like, you have no idea how much time it took them to save the money to come on vacation, how important it is for them, what promises they made for their kids. So you're dealing with all this stuff underneath the table. And then all you get above the table is just what their reaction is. But if you account for whatever you can see under the table, and you bring understanding and compassion to every guest interaction, the Airbnb business kind of gets easy, because it's a people-to-people business.
And you have to set the tone from the moment they book. And when you set the tone, as we put it in our, like, thank you for booking. Hey, if you need to ask how many effing beds are in the listing, check the listing. And then, like, ever since we put that in, like, okay. Like, and then more importantly, the greatest comment I've ever heard, and I read it in How to Optimize My Airbnb. He said, do not hide your weaknesses. Like, my neighborhood in San Antonio was up and coming. It was a little rough, and I kept getting comments about it. But then I got like 200 reviews and nobody said anything. But I started getting on Other House. So my ex-wife wrote this long thing that, like, hey, if you want a cookie cutter neighborhood and you want all the houses to look the same, then this ain't your place. Like, but if you like, you know, if you like style and old world and you want to be close to downtown, this is your spot. Never once did we get a response again. Ever.
I love that. I love that. And if you're not as empathetic as E and Austin, just have people on your team. Mm-hmm. Like, my wife handles all that stuff. Unless I'm in a great mood and I'm like, oh, whatever. But I have a shorter fuse. But I know my weakness. So I put people in place, like even at the hotel, like the manager and the weekend supervisor, they're amazing people, if that's even a word. Like, they're so good with people. Like, I can trust them entirely with that. Sometimes other things fall through the cracks on the detail end, which I can help pick up and create better systems and checklists. Like, no, you need to follow this and you follow this, but I know my weaknesses. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm an introvert or this isn't going to work for me. No, that's not true. I'm much more introverted than both of these guys. I'm totally comfortable speaking on a stage, but if I'm the guy mingling in the crowd, I've had to work on myself a lot to get to the point where I can, like, just go out and network. And you can get there, but it's not a necessity to start a business. What is a necessity is to figure out exactly what you want, why you want it, and then to commit to yourself that you're going to set up. And we use the word systems a lot, and it sounds kind of fancy and whatever if you're new. I'm not talking about like a piece of software that you got to build. All I'm saying is if you're finding, as an example, if somebody keeps asking you about where the pool is, okay, write out a pre-programmed response for the pool and use some of the software that we recommend, and it'll send that out for you. And that's one little system. Mm-hmm. And it just, you do that over time, and it evolves so that you become less and less involved. And then as you continue to scale, then you can bring on more people to support you. And if you guys want to go deeper on that, just go to strsecrets.com, and there's like a 28-minute class that we put together that breaks down the different systems that you need. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to take up too much more of Austin's time because he shared a ton, but just check out that resource. It's free.
But and I'm going to finish off the scaling up, because it's hard for me to admit this, and I'll say it now, but I wasn't in a place when I lost 26 grand and remove myself. We decided it was better to part ways from the company. It's hard to share. I lied to myself about the role that I deemed myself necessary for. And when I got deeper down the rabbit hole and we scaled up, I realized that I wasn't the person that needed to be in that role, but my ego wouldn't let me remove it, and I was miserable. And the moment that I stepped away from it and had to lose the money and had to lose the dignity and the ego, I felt free. I felt like my normal self again, because I wasn't waking up every day trying to portray this person of who I thought I was, or what, oh, I can control this. You're the Airbnb guy. And my coach, Omar, God, I love this man. He said, hey, you're the one that positioned yourself as the Airbnb dude. So like, you made your bed, either live in it or burn it up, but move on with your day. Like, and it's the truth. And it wasn't until, and I, like, the day after I left the company and I lost the money, I beat myself up like for 2 days straight. Like this was your one opportunity. You lost it. Like, good job. And then Jamie Gruber called me and he said, I want you to talk to me about something. He said, did you go to college? Did you graduate? And I said, nope. Did you ever run a business of this size before? Nope. Did you go to business school? Nope. Okay. Well, then you just got the best education of running a business from the inside out that you've ever got. So chalk it up to a business and personal investment and move on with your day. I was done.
I love Jamie. Yeah. But that really ties into the conversation in the beginning. It's all about how you frame things. You can frame a motel from a lodge and you change it. You can frame a loss of any kind to a lesson, and then life becomes completely different, right? And also, like, I think there's a big disservice now going around of this fake it till you make it, which in some aspects, right, there is a part of truth in it, but you also got to be really honest and really transparent with yourself. To what degree are you pushing yourself outside of who you actually are? Right? Because let's say you fake it until you make it, and then you make it, and then you look at yourself and you hate yourself. Did you make it? Who won? Like, did you actually win at the end of this fucking situation? Or you just pushed and grinded and made yourself fit into this round fucking hole because you had to, and then you lost yourself in the fucking process. And that's
the bottom line. Get clear on what the hell you want. Be honest with yourself. You don't have to try and compete with Austin or E or myself. You do you. This business I wholeheartedly believe in Austin. Call me out if you think I'm BS here, but I wholeheartedly believe anybody can do this business. If you want to do it.
Anybody. If
100%.
If you build it the way that it suits you. Simple as that.
100%.
Anybody can do this business. Dude, I have met, and trust me, I'm in one right now. And I travel on a daily basis. I have met 68-year-old women, grandmas, crushing it in Airbnb. Yeah. So I don't need your excuses. I don't need your ridiculousness, but I'm going to sum it up with I'm going to tell you the greatest story in the world. So I get my biggest booking I've ever got in my life. They're in for a conference. It's 6 people. They pay me $3,500 for 6 days. I am doing cartwheels, and the guy is super nice. So I'm getting it ready. I've got a house across the street and then other houses in Airbnb. I'm very pressed for time. I am making the bed very quickly. So I'm putting on the sheets that were already clean. Right when I'm putting on the master, I've never shared this story with anybody. Right when I'm putting on the master bedroom sheets, I hear the loudest bang I've ever heard in my entire life. And I was like, what was that? So I slam the sheets on real quick and I run to the front door. It was raining outside. Some guy had turned the corner and drove through 20 feet of my fence. Like, gone. The fence is gone. There's wood everywhere. Cement's flying. The car's gone. They're checking in 45 minutes. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, my neighbor looks at me and he goes, what the fuck just happened? I was like, I don't know. So I said, listen, help me. I was like, so I made the bed real quick and I I cleaned up everything. Like I threw it in the trash, and like there was like holes through my yard, and like it was crazy. There's no fence, no nothing. And I texted them. I was like, somebody just drove through my fence, so I can't get it fixed till like, till y'all leave. They were like, well, we don't give a shit. We've been traveling for like 18 hours. Like, it's fine. We'll be there late tonight. Don't worry about it. I go to bed. I get like 16 text messages and like a video that told me like, I'm going to fucking kill you. You piece of shit. You did this to me on purpose. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I get the guy on the phone, and as I got the guy that booked it on the phone, I'm getting yelled at in the back of his background by the lady going, you fucking piece of shit. Like, you did this to me on purpose. Like, what kind of sick hotel Airbnb are you running here? I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And this is what he explained to me. So the guest that left before them had a 2-year-old that pissed in the bed, and I didn't see it. And so when I made the bed, all I did was put the sheets on the piss, because right when I made that section of the bed, the car hit, and so I ran outside. So she had traveled 16 hours, and she was in her nicest suit, and she sat down in the bed at 1 a.m. on the piss.
Brutal.
So I was like, holy shit, I don't even know. I was like, okay, so here's the deal. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my furniture store. I'm going to replace everything. And I mean everything. She goes, no, just replace the bed. Don't worry about it. I was, no. Everything. Everything. I'm replacing everything. By the way, I'm about to get myself in trouble, but I don't give a shit. So I said, fuck it. So I rented a truck. I called into work, and I was like, I got to deal with this. So I went and pulled out like $400 in my cash. I went to my furniture store, and I said, hey, I'm going to get in so much trouble for this. I said, write up a receipt for the most expensive mattress she got. And she gave me a receipt because I bought everything from there. And I wound up picking up 2 beds, a couch, 2 bed frames, and like something else for like the price of like $750, right? So I threw it all in the car. I got new sheets, new everything. And she was like, look, we're gone all day. Don't worry about it. Like, do your thing. Just let us know when it's done. So I get the truck, I get it all, I get to the house, I'm unloading the mattress, and out gets an Airbnb, and it's the lady. My wife at the time runs away. She's like, this is all you. So I literally just grabbed the $400, and I was like, I got nothing. I was like, I don't even, like, here, like, whatever. And she goes, it's cool. I don't want your money. Fix it. And I was like, okay. So I go and I fix everything. And they wound up staying for the week. They don't say much. He's a very quiet guy. I'm like so embarrassed. And I walk into the house because they said they checked out. They were still there waiting for their taxi. So I walk in my house with 6 people in there with the woman who absolutely wants to eviscerate me. And he looks at me and he goes, wasn't that the funniest shit you ever seen in your life? He goes, great stay, dude. Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you fixing it. 5-star review.
Wow.
Beautiful.
I think I had anxiety most of the story. Like, no story.
You're a good storyteller. I didn't know where we were going with this.
Yeah. I had no idea.
You know the feeling, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
How do you come back from this? And then she shows up, and you're like, she's like, oh, you just changed the mattress. I was like, no. I changed the pillows. I changed the sheets. I threw it all out, everything. And then that lady, they paid for it. They didn't want to. And I was like, no. You ruined, but I said, all you had to do was tell me. Just tell me it happened. And I would have fixed it. But she didn't tell me, and that's what made me upset. Mm-hmm. So it's like, then you combined a problem over and over again instead of just addressing the issue. And I want to finish off the story. Everybody, my favorite quote, Kyle Cease, everybody is so worried about what they'll lose by telling the truth because that's quantifiable. They have no idea what they might gain by telling the truth because they can't see that.
That's good.
Wow.
So last question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your number one secret for success in short-term rentals?
you have to understand that Emil said it perfectly. You have no idea. Does anybody understand that if you live in the Philippines or India, that these people that are coming to California, Florida, DC, have saved up for 5 years to come on this vacation? I'm not saying you have to be compassionate with everything that they say, but understand that what you're providing for them is memories for their family. It's so much bigger than 4 walls and a bed. And when you understand that, there's a bigger why at play, and you can move on with your life.
Damn. Mic drop at the end here.
I could talk to you for hours. Like, this could have been like a Tim Ferriss kind of style podcast, like a 3.5 hours.
Yeah, we like to do that with my other buddy, but I'm going to have you on my podcast, Emil, so we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, whenever you want. I'll be honored. You've been an absolute pleasure, brother. You gave so much value as we knew it was going to happen. So I'm deeply grateful. Whenever you make your way down here, you're more than welcome to come and visit. We'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah, we'll be there in October. Perfect time of the year too. Yeah.
One last thing, Austin. Where can folks find more about you and get in touch with you? And make sure to hit up the podcast.
Check out the podcast, Construct Your Life Podcast. We have an Instagram handle, same as that. If you want to DM me on Instagram, I always respond. I'm going to add value any way I can. We need to, especially in this time, we need to lift up the people around us. So that's what my number one why is in life. So I am all about that. You can find me on Facebook. Austin Linney is the profile. And I just really appreciate you having me on, Joe.
Thanks again, brother. We'll talk soon.
You got it, my guys. See ya.
Ciao.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.